Chapter 666, Wutong Wood. Lu Shu realized that this tree branch was not as simple as he had thought. It might be a fire-type mythical object. Even if he could not use it, he could do some research on it. The tree branch was as thick as Lu Shu's forearm. There was a faint flame-colored symbol on the branch. Lu Shu could sense strong waves of energy emitted from it. If it were not for the white flame in his heart, Lu Shu would not even be able to hold it in his hand. He would have had to at least put on the celestial robes. He quieted down and listened for any movement outside his door. He then opened the window and jumped out. He ran towards the wilderness. The darkness concealed Lu Shu while he ran. No one realized that there was someone missing from the villa. After more than 10 minutes, Lu Shu squatted in the wilderness and scrutinized the tree branch. For some reason, his celestial powers could not enter the branch. Suddenly, Lu Shu felt that something was not right. He looked up and saw Howard's fire phoenix silently looking at him from over 50 meters away. It still had the 2 fire chickens in its mouth. The atmosphere was very awkward. Lu Shu did not know what the phoenix wanted to do. It seemed like the phoenix did not want to approach him either. Have you eaten? Lu Shu asked. This was a normal greeting. Lu Shu was very sure that the phoenix was intelligent, but he did not know whether it was here to avenge Howard. The fire phoenix tilted its head and looked at Lu Shu. Lu Shu did not know what it was thinking. It did not produce any distress points either. Lu Shu suddenly felt that something was strange. The phoenix was not looking at him, but the branch in his hand. Lu Shu asked with a strange expression, "Do you want this?" The phoenix did not respond. It seemed that it did not understand him. Lu Shu pondered. It should understand human language because it was intelligent, right? Lu Shu suddenly asked in English, "Do you want this?" The fire phoenix hesitated before lightly nodding its head. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. As expected, this was a foreign phoenix. It was different from the phoenixes back home. It did not understand Chinese. This was very tiring. He had to use English to communicate. The fire phoenix felt that this human was still quite kind. Although Lu Shu had killed Howard, the fire phoenix did not feel that Howard was its owner and thus, it did not hold any negative feelings over his death. Hence, it had no animosity towards Lu Shu. Till now, the fire phoenix felt that it could get along with Lu Shu. Then, it saw Lu Shu slowly put the branch away. The fire phoenix was confused. From Phoenix's Distress, plus 666. Lu Shu pointed at the fire phoenix and started to settle accounts with the fire phoenix. "Do you know how hard it was for me to obtain this piece of wood? I had to fight Howard for 3 days and 3 nights. It's not realistic for you to just take it away from me, right?" The fire phoenix calmly looked at Lu Shu. Not even 1 day had passed since the start of the battle between Howard and Lu Shu. "How about this?" Lu Shu waved his arm. "I am not a stingy person. Help me fight and I will give you this piece of wood. Don't worry, I will not treat you unfairly. If there are any fire-type things that are suitable for you, I will sell it to you." At first, the fire phoenix thought that Lu Shu was quite reliable, but after hearing that Lu Shu would sell things to it, it was annoyed. From Phoenix's Distress, plus 666. At first, the fire phoenix still felt that this human was still kind. But now, suddenly, the light that the fire phoenix emitted started to dim. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. Why did he feel like the phoenix was about to die? The fire phoenix suddenly flew towards Lu Shu with the 2 fire chickens in its mouth. Lu Shu was shocked. "I'm telling you, you can't defeat me." Before he could react, the fire phoenix turned into a ray of light and entered the piece of wood. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. So the phoenix did not want to take the piece of wood, but wanted to stay inside the wood. Thus, Lu Shu suddenly realized that there was a problem. Every time Howard summoned the fire phoenix, he would point to the sky as if he was a superhero. Lu Shu felt that the person in charge of foreign affairs in a first-rate organization could not be so egotistical. But if he really was, then what could Lu Shu do? Back then, everyone may have thought that Howard had summoned the fire phoenix from within his body, but this did not seem to be the case. He evidently summoned it from the space ring on his finger. With his flames, Howard seemed very impressive, but he was not that impressive in real life. He had been acting all his life. Thus, Howard definitely had other fire-type trump cards that he did not use. He was always hiding something up his sleeve. But before he could use his trump card, his fire-type abilities were suppressed. This made Howard feel very upset. Of course, Lu Shu did not know the details. The living could only guess the secrets of the dead. When the fire phoenix entered the piece of wood, Lu Shu realized that the two fire chickens had merged with the fire phoenix. So there was only one fire phoenix. Lu Shu had thought that the chickens were the phoenix's dolls. The piece of wood in Lu Shu's hands, could it be the legendary Wutong wood? Lu Shu looked at the shiny veins on the piece of wood. It was indeed the Wutong wood. It was said that the phoenix would only perch on a Wutong tree. Lu Shu had thought that this saying was just to portray the nobility of the phoenix, but he did not expect it to be true. It was said that Howard had obtained the soul of a phoenix. Did that mean that the soul of the phoenix had used this piece of wood as its lodging? Lu Shu tried to use his celestial powers to summon the fire phoenix, but his celestial powers could not enter the piece of wood. Suddenly, the white flame in his heart jumped. He realized that this was the first time his white flame was so active. The white flame produced a drop of white liquid that flowed to his palm. Then, the drop of white liquid seeped into the Wutong wood like a drop of water. The Wutong wood suddenly blazed with a white flame. It was as if it was burning the Wutong wood. The fire phoenix within the Wutong wood roared angrily. It was not willing to give up, but the white flame was powerful like a monarch. It did not give the fire phoenix any room for resistance. Slowly, the entire Wutong wood turned as white as the white flame. Lu Shu could see the world of flames through the Wutong wood. The fire phoenix was fast asleep among the flames. There was a small white flame symbol on the right side of its neck. The white flame in Lu Shu's heart went to sleep as well. It was as if it had exerted too much energy. It did not even move. Chapter 667, My character was destroyed just like that? As Lu Shu looked at the fire phoenix sleeping in the Wutong wood, he suddenly realized that it was like chaos. He could communicate with it through telepathy. But there was another similarity between the fire phoenix and chaos. Once they went to sleep, Lu Shu could not wake them up. Now that he had both the fire phoenix and chaos, why could he not enjoy them? Furthermore, even the white flame had gone to sleep. Lu Shu suddenly felt that on the surface, it did not affect his combat power much. After all, he had not possessed some of these weapons in the past. But he felt as if something was missing. After all, the white flame did not try to assert its presence. But for some reason, Lu Shu could feel a sense of security. No matter whether it was the day he awakened and got hit by a car, or the time Liang Che tried to kill him, or the time he faced Howard, this white flame had never let him down. At least it allowed him to suppress other flames. Now, there were a bunch of indecent things in the Seal of Lands. Lu Shu did not know which genius would be able to make use of them. Lu Shu kept the Wutong wood in the Seal of Lands. Since the phoenix had become his pet, Lu Shu decided that he could not call it its English name. What if one day, he disguised himself as Chen Bailey, shouted "Phoenix," and then died? What should he call it? Lu Shu thought about it for 2 seconds and decided to name it Firework. Chaos and Firework. The name sounded nice. They were his twins. As he kept the Wutong wood, the Cheng-Ying sword and the head-twisting gourd mysteriously gathered around the Wutong wood. They were like relatives outside the delivery room looking at the new member of their family. The head-twisting gourd even spat fire on the wutong wood, but there was no movement. Lu Shu's expression darkened. You were typically not very reliable. Now, was it appropriate for you to be an onlooker? You really have a lot of curiosity. The head-twisting gourd was very indifferent towards Lu Shu. Ever since Lu Shu had used it to block himself from the divine punishment, this was Lu Shu's first time seeing it so active. Lu Shu once again took on Li Tang's appearance and headed back. It was midnight, but the lights in the villa were still on. It seemed as if no one was asleep. Lu Shu gathered up the items in Howard's space ring. He suddenly realized that the cash Howard had stored were all in $20 notes. $20 notes? You were the person in charge of foreign affairs in a large organization. And all you had were $20 notes? Were you crazy? One could not blame Lu Shu for his shock. He had never been to the United States, thus he did not know. In the eyes of the Chinese, $20 was as good as pocket money. But overseas, only the Chinese would carry $100 notes. The locals usually only used $20 notes. If you withdrew $500 from the ATM machine, the ATM machine would dispense $20 notes, not 5 $100 notes. If you passed a cashier a $100 note in a restaurant, the cashier would be shocked as it was very rare. But Lu Shu did not know this. Lu Shu looked down on Howard. Very few people gave $20 during the New Year. What kind of organization was this? Suddenly, Lu Shu smelled the strong scent of instant noodles from the villa. But the instant noodles tasted weird. 2 years ago, Lu Shu ate instant noodles often. Back then, they were very poor. Lu Xiaoyu loved eating instant noodles, as it was tasty. Lu Shu suddenly remembered that on the night of his awakening, he had gone out to buy instant noodles for Lu Xiaoyu. To the two of them, being able to eat a bowl of instant noodles was like celebrating the new year. Thinking about the past, Lu Shu did not know whether to laugh or to cry. He did not know where Lu Xiaoyu was now. He had tried to summon a clone, but Lu Xiaoyu always rejected him. This method was very strange. Both Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu had to agree in order for it to work. If one of them refused, the clone would not be summoned. Lu Shu had an unpleasant premonition. Now, there were many weird names and characters recorded on Lu Xiaoyu's page of distress points. English names were not common. Lu Shu could not read the names either. He tried to search online, but he could not find anything. Only God knows where Lu Xiaoyu went. Lu Shu came to the hall and saw a group of people gathered together. Everyone had a bowl of instant noodles. Lu Fan smiled and said, although these instant noodles don't taste right and may be fake, but we are really lucky to be able to eat instant noodles in Africa. Take this as a treat from me. If you guys still want to eat more, I can buy some more. But I can't buy them tomorrow. The boss said that I had cleared all their stock. They have to restock their instant noodles. Lu Shu looked at the words on the packets of instant noodles. Ha! Ha! It was certainly fake. But the problem was, he had wandered around this city before. The only shop selling instant noodles here was Zhao Yangchen's shop. So are you telling me that the person in charge of intelligence in Africa is selling fake instant noodles? Is this appropriate? Could the Heavenly Network deploy more decent people overseas? When Lu Fan saw Lu Shu walk out of his room, he smiled and said, "Sorry, Li Tang. There were only enough packets for all of us here. There's none left for you." Lu Shu did not speak. He returned to his room and brought out 2 bowls of instant noodles. One bowl had pickled Chinese cabbage, while the other had pieces of beef. After all, they did not know what exactly was in his bag. When the smell of pickled Chinese cabbage wafted throughout the room, Lu Shu started to earn distress points. Li Yixiao looked at the bowl of fake instant noodles in his hands. He smacked his lips. "Brother, can you give me a bowl?" Lu Shu laughed buoyantly and rejected him tactfully. Nope. From Li Yixiao's distress, plus 166. Li Yixiao was unhappy. He was a heavenly king. What could you do if he wanted a bowl of instant noodles? Brother, you have 2 bowls of noodles. I just like eating hot pot. Anything wrong with that? Lu Shu said cheerily. Lu Fan looked at the 2 bowls Lu Shu was holding. What hot pot were you talking about? Most importantly, he was holding 2 bowls of authentic instant noodles, not the fake noodles that they had been eating. The difference in taste was significant. Their soup was flavorful, but their noodles were tasteless. As Lu Shu finished speaking, Li Yixiao suddenly dragged Lu Shu into his room. He locked the door and said, Lu Shu? Lu Shu, is that you? Help me earn some money. I am very poor now. Do you know how strict Nailan K is? My savings at home were dug up by you and Lu Xiaoyu. You have to take responsibility. As Li Yixiao spoke, he knew that he had guessed correctly. From the start, he was very certain that the person in front of him was Lu Shu. Lu Shu was silent. You can uncover my identity just like that. Chapter 668, New Plan. At the moment when Lu Shu was recognized by Li Yixiao, he started to doubt whether he could be a good undercover agent. Why was it so easy to recognize him? Yet, he did not know that Li Yixiao had already known he was in this team. As a heavenly king, Li Yixiao noticed Lu Shu's sudden disappearance. At the same time, he learned that a team had just departed from Luo City. This could not be a coincidence. Although all of the secret practitioners in the team were citizens of Luo City, the negotiators were from the southern parts of the country. So why must they depart from Luo City, a compact city equipped with a pitifully small airport? While others might not know it, Li Yixiao was aware that this served as cover for an important person. Who could that be? The answer was clear. Hence, Li Yixiao started looking for clues of Lu Shu the second he opened the door. At first, he was worried that he might not be able to find him as Lu Shu had the mask on. But soon, he realized the worry was unnecessary. Lu Shu's personality was like a torch in the darkness. It was simply too conspicuous. Hesitantly, Lu Shu said, but there's no source of money in Africa. Plus the fact that Nailan K is watching your wallet closely. How can you make money like that? Li Yixiao pondered for a while and said, I bet the EO headquarters has a huge stock of cash. How about this? I'll listen to you and do whatever you say. We can split the earnings into 90% and 10%. You keep the money first and I'll get it from you after we get home. Clever, Lu Shu thought. With his space bag confiscated by Nailan K, Li Yixiao could use Lu Shu as his temporary cash vault. Before Lu Shu could speak, Li Yixiao interrupted, Brother, please help me. It's really too difficult. I think there won't be much money this time, so please don't give me decimals. My heart can't take it. Well, Lu Shu did not expect that Li Yixiao would say it first. Nonetheless, his original plan was to acquire the EO through a peaceful deal, which probably would not happen now that Li Yixiao was here. Otherwise, how could they get the money? But sufficient preparation was needed if they really decided to fight. Lu Shu still preferred the strategy of secret attacks, which would gain him a better advantage. Wait for my signal. We'll start tomorrow, Lu Shu said. With that, he leaped out of the window. Li Yixiao's face suddenly beamed with joy as he saw the 2 bowls of cup noodles on Lu Shu's table. He took them in his hands and headed out to the dining room. For some reason, Nailan K and Lin Ganyu was having a good chat. Having spent too long with a bunch of guys, Lin Ganyu craved talking to ladies. Lin Ganyu said, It's so cute that both of you are practitioners, and you can lead an adventurous life in the world together. Undeniably, Nailan K and Li Yixiao's romantic story was really admirable. In times of peace, countless girls dreamed about going through battles with their loved ones. They could endure hardships together. How romantic and thrilling, just like those couples in heroic stories. But Nalan K sighed in distress. Cute? I don't even know whether he loves me. Their relationship was slightly strained after Li Xiao refused to have kids with her. Nalan K was not dumb. She knew Li Xiao understood her and rejected her too. Lin Ganyu whispered to her, if you want to know whether a man loves you, stare into his eyes for 10 seconds. If he takes the initiative to kiss you, it means he loves you. Nalan K was skeptical. So easy. Just try it, Lin Ganyu said with a smile. Meanwhile, Li Xiao just walked out with 2 bowls of noodles. Then he saw Nalan K staring right at him. In 5 seconds, Li Xiao passed the noodles to Nalan Quebec. You can have both of them. I didn't eat any. Nalan K was stunned. So did he love her, or not? Lu Shu walked into Zhao Yangchen's mini-mart. He was watching a drama on his phone, laughing until his already small eyes almost disappeared. Zhao Yangchen immediately put down his phone upon seeing Lu Shu. How can I help you, sir? Lu Shu skipped the code word. Please prepare for me a set of military uniform in the style of the EO cadets. Pardon? Zhao Yongchen hesitated. Lu Shu sighed and pointed at a can of Coke. How much is this? Can you give me a discount of 2.333 bucks? Only then did Zhao Yongchen turn back to normal. He carefully replied, sure. You can get it for $1. Don't blame me, though, because meticulousness is a must for our job. You can change your appearance, so can others, maybe. Hence, it's better if we can follow the procedures every time. Lu Shu understood. It was a professional skill. If an intelligence agent was caught, he would face severe punishment and possible torture for their secrets. That would cause the entire intelligence network to fall apart. Meticulousness was never wrong. Lu Shu learned a lesson. He said, understood. Thank you. Please get me a set of military uniforms from the EO cadets. Then, he pulled the tab on the Coke can, but it broke and the can was not open. Lu Shu took a look at the can and realized it was called Coke. As expected. Lu Fan had bought the cup noodles here too. Before he could speak, Zhao Yongchen said first in a serious tone, have you heard of this myth? It's said that if you can pull off the tab without opening the can, it means that this tab is chosen by God, and it'll bring you good luck if you wear it on your finger as a ring. Wait. Lu Shu's trident was already touching Zhao Yangchen's forehead. So you aren't giving me another can, are you? From Zhao Yangchen's distress, plus 666. Quietly Zhao Yongchen got Lu Shu a can of real Coke. There was another box of real ones specially set aside. Lu Shu smacked his lips. Why are there so many bad businessmen overseas from the Heavenly Network? Hey, well. Zhao Yongchen rubbed his hands in embarrassment. Heavenly King Ye said that we will be good buds and it's gonna be a happy and smooth cooperation with you. Lu Shu's face darkened at once. That's an insult. One more thing, if I may ask. Zhao Yongchen diverted the topic at once, because he was not supposed to make any comments about any issue between those two masters. You came here for new stuff right after Heavenly King Li arrived. Do you have new plans? Anything that we can do? Chapter 669, Are You Nuts? No need. Lu Shu waved his hand and put his trident back into his seal of lands. It's too dangerous. You may die there. Zhao Yongchen was silent for a long moment. Thank you. The job of an intelligence agent was always risky. They knew they might lay down their lives for their country any day if the mission called for it. But who wanted to die, really? Zhao Yongchen and others were always concerned about who would assume the role of the person in charge of overseas matters. What if it would be someone who did not care about their lives at all? At the very least, this man in front of him right now was not that kind of person. It made Zhao Yongchen realize that to this man, he was not a dispensable pawn, but a living person. "Sir, are you the 9th Heavenly King?" Zhao Yongchen suddenly asked. Lu Shu stopped when he was about to push open the door. "No. I hope you are. Take care." With that, Zhao Yongchen continued watching his drama. His hearty laughter resumed, but Lu Shu could sense a trace of expectation in it. Lu Shu walked out of the store. The game was on. Together, they would overthrow the EO's leadership, which would draw new Africans here to take charge of the mineral reserves. Then, the Heavenly Network would work with them. That was the Heavenly Network's real plan. They truly needed a buffer between the other organizations and themselves, but it had to be their own people. Meanwhile, Bennett might not even know who he was or whom he served. Before the Spirit Chi era, as the leader of the EO mercenaries, he had once slaughtered a Chinese factory. This incident had long since been forgotten by the masses, but Nie Ting had always remembered it by heart. Pressured by the Department of Faith Theory, Bennett was forced to play with fire. But never had he expected that 2 Class Bs, including himself, would only be a hindrance to other organizations, because it was an open secret that the two of them would never pledge their allegiance to anyone. The next noon, Bennett held a meeting in the mansion they now used as their new headquarters regarding their potential business partner. The atmosphere was pleasant. The other Class B said with a laugh, "It's unexpected that the Department of Faith Theory and the Phoenix Society actually had a fight." As expected, Bennett's judgment was right. "We'll be the final winner, given the many conflicts among large organizations." Bennett smiled confidently. "Now, the only one we need to watch out for is the Heavenly Network." But their attitude towards foreign practitioner organizations has always been one of friendliness. They should not be a big threat to us. Indeed. We should drag on for 1 or 2 months so that we can transfer away some of our assets. In that case, we'll be able to handle the situation more freely even if an emergency arises. "We are mercenaries, and we can survive on any piece of land," another person commented. In fact, they had long since been planning to transfer their assets elsewhere. They used to be interested in the mineral reserves for their potential lucrativeness, but afterwards they understood that they did not have enough bargaining chips against large organizations. As a relatively large-scale organization, EO could easily relocate to other places if the current environment was no longer safe for their development. At this moment, a man suddenly rushed into the conference room and shouted, "2 unknown masters spotted 500 meters away. Coming towards us." Everyone jumped to their feet at once. Which organization? Probably Heavenly Network. "They look Asian," a subordinate reported. Outside, Li Yixiao and Nailin K were running at top speed, holding a giant stone pillar each. No one knew where they took them from. As they accelerated, their footsteps became audible, like the beating of a war drum. 500 meters was nothing to 2 Class Bs. They closed the distance in the blink of an eye. It was already too late when Bennett received the message. Li Yixiao and Nailin K's movements were in perfect synchronization. Nailin K roared, "Go!" Under the immense momentum, the 2 stone pillars flew out, piercing the atmosphere apart. Bennett suddenly saw that it went dark outside their window. In the next instant, the conference room had been reduced to rubble by the stone pillars. Bennett and the other Class B made a quick dodge, but their subordinates were not as lucky. The 2 pillars punctured a whopping 10 walls before they slowed down to a stop. Li Yixiao and Nailin K bent their knees slightly and leaped into the conference room from the floor. At this moment, the mansion was teeming with the wailing of the injured. When Li Yixiao and Nailin K dashed into the room like 2 missiles, Bennett and the other Class B were ready to attack. To their dismay, though, the intruders did not seem to care about their counterattack at all. They were prepared to roll over them with brute force and an indestructible defense. At this moment, as the EO soldiers ran out of the building, Lu Shu entered the premise against the flow of the crowd. He was dressed in the EO military uniform. He glanced around casually, as though he was at home. Bennett's Class B colleague was not equipped with invisible storage equipment. Hence, Bennett did not store all the resources in his own storage, as a show of his generosity and fairness. Besides, Bennett's invisible storage equipment was not a relic, meaning its capacity was very limited. It was information provided to Lu Shu by Zhao Yongchen. Therefore, Lu Shu's task today was to take advantage of the chaos and bring out all the resources kept in their safe vault. As a matter of fact, it was not difficult for Li Yixiao and Nayland Cai to defeat Bennett, given their seamless cooperation. After that, they could take away all the resources as they pleased. But it was not Bennett that Lu Shu and Li Yixiao had to watch out for. It was Nayland Cai. Lu Shu came to the safe vault. But the door opened before he could lay his hands on it. Stunned, Lu Shu saw a few soldiers dashing out with some bags on their shoulders. They actually wanted to steal the money and escape, probably behind Bennett's back. They too were shocked upon seeing Lu Shu. One of them shouted fiercely, "Get out of our way, or we will kill you." They did not suspect Lu Shu's identity at all, because there were many Asian mercenaries in EO's team too. Lu Shu's heart throbbed in pain. "Do you know the consequence of stealing my money?" The leader of the gang was confused. "It's not money in there." As though to convince Lu Shu, he opened his bag. Lu Shu felt even more miserable after checking his bag. "Are you nuts? Why do you keep essential bombs in your safe vault?" Chapter 670, How do I explain this? To be honest, Lu Shu could not believe that there was only so much essential bombs in the warehouse of a large organization. This was too childish. He took a bottle and sniffed it. He had thought that the essential bombs might be fake, but they turned out to be real. Although he knew that essential bombs were highly sought after in Africa, but the problem could not be that the essential bombs were being used as resources, right? Lu Shu highly suspected that Bennett was the culprit. He had kept all the important resources in his space ring, leaving the warehouse clean. He did not know whether to laugh or to cry. How could a strong leader of a mercenary organization with such great ambition and desire for control leave the resources in the hands of others? The problem was, he did not know how to explain this to Li Yixiao. As Lu Shu fished out his phone to film, he retrieved a trident and pointed it at the soldiers. He kicked the wall and caused the wall to crack, scaring the soldiers. "Now, answer me. Are there really only essential bombs in this warehouse?" When the soldiers saw Lu Shu kick a hole in the wall, they became so nervous that they started to spit. They realized that the young man they were facing was not from the EO. "Yes, there are only essential bombs here. The valuable items are all in Bennett's space ring," said the soldier. Lu Shu nodded his head in satisfaction. He killed the 3 soldiers without a word. EO had abused their power in Africa for a long time. Furthermore, when the soldiers encountered Lu Shu, they had said that if Lu Shu did not give up, they would kill him. Since they had the intent to kill, they should have prepared to do so. Lu Shu slowly kept all the essential bombs in the Seal of Lands. He suddenly felt very annoyed. These essential bombs were worth a lot of money in Africa, but he could not stay in Africa and open up a business just to sell these essential bombs. But they were not worth much back home. The fight at the roof of the building was drawing to a close. The cooperation between Li Yixiao and Nayland Cai gave their opponents a headache. They were both seasoned fighters. Not only did they have thick rubbery skin, their killing power was frightening as well. Although Nayland Cai should not be that fierce as a female, she had channeled her skills in the wrong direction. Bennett and another Class B expert had been badly injured. Although they had previously worked together in many battles, the chemistry between them was incomparable to that of Li Yixiao and Nayland Cai's. Only half an hour had passed since the start of the battle. Bennett suddenly shouted, "Let's work together to kill that woman." The Class B expert rushed forth, but he realized that Bennett did not follow him. Instead, he jumped down and ran away. Before that Class B expert could react, he was surrounded and attacked by Li Xiao and Nayland Quebec. In his anger, he had wanted to drag Bennett in to die together, but he could not get hold of Bennett. Bennett had not lived this long as a mercenary soldier for no reason. Cruelty was his principle. As he jumped out of the dilapidated building, Bennett threw 2 metal balls before running away. The 2 metal balls released large waves of energy. Nayland K fiercely rushed forth and caught the 2 metal balls before throwing them down. Crash! The 2 metal balls had created 2 massive holes in the ground. Nayland K was also slightly traumatized. She did not know what the metal balls were made of. If they had exploded in her hands, she might have lost her arms. But Nayland K and Li Xiao were the same. They depended on their mood and momentum during battles. Danger was a secondary consideration. Li Xiao's hand suddenly trembled. The black dragon spear seemingly appeared out of thin air with a buzz. The black dragon spear charged towards Bennett like an artillery shell. Bennett turned around and kicked the black dragon spear, but a black dragon suddenly jumped out of the spear and held Bennett down. The 2 of them beat the Class B expert to the ground. Then, they gave up on their target and rushed towards Bennett at the same time. An observer would think that this teamwork was pleasing to watch, not because of their killing power, but because their chemistry was natural and spontaneous. Bennett had fallen as he struggled against the black dragon. Li Xiao stood at the edge of the roof and threw Nayland K towards Bennett. Nayland K kicked Li Xiao's chest to gain power as she charged towards Bennett. Li Xiao stepped back from the force of this kick, but he was not upset. It was as if they had discussed this earlier. Nayland K used her elbow as a weapon and landed on Bennett. When Bennett looked up and saw Nayland K, it was too late for him to dodge. There was the sound of an explosion, followed by a storm of dust. Bennett was on the ground, badly battered. There were even cracks on the concrete ground. Li Xiao happily jumped down. Beautiful, beautiful. Nayland K looked at him. Are you saying that I'm beautiful or that I did a beautiful job? Li Xiao was dumbfounded. Didn't I say beautiful twice? One was for you, and one was for your attack. Nayland K rolled her eyes at Li Xiao. She took the ring on Bennett's finger and said to Li Xiao, "Do you want this thing?" "We have to leave this to the Heavenly Network," Li Xiao said righteously. "We are here to complete a mission. How can we be greedy and steal goods? Do you see me, Li Xiao, as this kind of person?" Nayland K was dumbfounded. Was this really Li Xiao? Have you eaten too much? Nayland K looked at Li Xiao in disbelief. How can you misunderstand me like this, Li Xiao said, as if he was dissatisfied. He was very happy on the inside. He could make use of Lu Shu. There was no way that this ring would fall into his hands with Nayland K around. But he still had Lu Shu. Ha! Ha! This woman always wanted to punish him financially. But he had Lu Shu on his side. Li Xiao could imagine what his savings would look like. He would eat all the sliced meat sandwiches he wanted back home. Beside him, Nayland K was in disbelief. Had Li Xiao really changed? Li Xiao and Nayland K did not stay on the battlefield for long. They only had to split up Yo. As for the other affairs, they would.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens.